in accordance with that against the system.
No.
In a physical way.
Wrong.
I don't think that's wrong.
Read a book.
I mean, just saying.
Every single instance.
Just saying, five guys are running around with guns in some small-scale incursion. That's not fucking civil war.
Didn't say it was civil war.
Well, that's what we're talking about, is civil unrest and civil war.
And what precipitates that is social breakdown.
Andrew Wilson went on Timcast IRL and actually called out Tim Pool himself for lies that he spreads to his audience members. Now, I'm a fan of Andrew Wilson and Tim Pool, but there are some things that Tim Pool does that I am not a fan of. And Andrew Wilson obviously is not a fan of these things that Tim Pool does and says here on Timcast either. And Andrew Wilson went into Tim Pool's own show and called him out for these lies, sparking a very heated debate between Andrew Wilson and Tim Pool here live on Timcast IRL. Let's check it out.
Come November, chances are good Trump gets in. I mean, not Trump, Biden gets in, and Trump supporters don't really do anything. He concedes, and that's probably how it's going to go.
Again, I think you live in a movie. I think you think doing something is a guy standing up and saying, I hereby declare, instead of 7 guys going out and being like, hey, can we make sure that any of those trucks coming in don't have the illegals? Because we've had a couple trucks come through here that did, and they've been transporting them. Now, I tried calling ICE, but they won't answer. So Jim and I are going to go out.
Don't consider that a civil war. That would be low-scale vigilantism.
So, right. And what precipitates civil war?
It would have to be some large segment of the population, that 5% or higher, who are doing some type of sedition or considerable treason, what would be considered considerable treason to the United States government. That is what I would consider to be some type of actionable civil warfare.
Just 5%?
Yeah, 10%.
What is it? 60%? 60%? No, it's like 70% of the Republicans think that the Democrats have already committed sedition.
Yeah, I'm sure that they do.
Right,
but
so
they're not acting in a way as though they have. I think that's the problem, right? If you think that somebody has truly acted in a way as to be a traitor, right? What do you do to traitors?
Sedition and treason are two different things.
Yeah, I know. But if you were to say that you think a person's acting in such a way that they're a traitor, what do you do to traitors? Last I checked, they get hung, right?
But treason and sedition are not the same thing.
Yeah, I know. But the point of my hypothetical is to say they're not acting in such a way as though these people, while they say you're seditious or they say you're treasonous, whichever one, they're not acting as though they are. They might say it, but they're not acting like it.
What does that mean, they're not acting like it?
Well, if somebody is guilty of sedition, that's firing squad. If they're guilty of treason, they get hung.
Sedition is not.
They don't get worked with.
Sedition is like maximum 10 years in prison, I believe.
Okay, fine. Well, they're not getting 10 years in prison either. But
well, that's the question of whether Donald Trump gets elected. The issue is conservatives overwhelmingly they're not revolutionaries. The question is, do we expect, with everything that's already happened, we're at the point now where since the beginning of this conversation with Donald Trump, they've accused the president.
I don't know if I fully agree with what Tim Pool just said right there, that conservatives are not revolutionaries. I somewhat agree, like at face value, right? Where, it's true, because conservatives are, the progressives are always like, let's do this, let's do that, let's keep moving things forward. And conservatives are more just like, no, wait, don't. Please just leave me alone. Let me live my life. So I agree that they're not necessarily like the revolutionaries most of the time. But when you start to impede and you start to ignore the people who are saying, no, wait, don't, and you don't wait and don't, they're going to start retaliating, right? They're going to start fighting back a little bit. And I think they might be a whole lot more dangerous than the people who are, the traditional revolutionaries, if you start impeding on the people's freedoms who are saying, no, wait, don't. I would watch out a whole lot more for the conservatives who you're treading on their freedom, and watch out for them to become those revolutionaries if you do impede on those freedoms enough.
Of being a traitor. They've accused Donald Trump of being a traitor.
That's true.
They have acted as though he is a traitor. They cemented his feet so that he couldn't run his administration. They effectively levied legal war against him during his entire administration.
But you need a percentage of the American public who's acting in accordance with that against the system.
No.
In a physical way.
Wrong.
I don't think that's wrong.
Read a book.
I mean, just saying.
Every single instance.
Just saying, five guys are running around with guns in some small-scale incursion. That's not fucking civil war.
Didn't say it was civil war.
Well, that's what we're talking about, is civil unrest and civil war.
And what precipitates that is social breakdown when people lose confidence in their government.
I agree. That's what precipitates it. That's true. You have social breakdown. You have social cohesion breaking down.
You're sitting here going,
but that doesn't mean that that's what it is. And you can also, what else you can get? Instead of civil war, you can get instead of revolution, instead of civil war, you can have a renaissance too. Sometimes social breakdowns lead to renaissance. You forget about that as well.
Well, usually you get a revolution or you get a civil war. Civil wars will end with one power structure typically takes over. The outright destruction is rare. Someone always asserts authority. But you get a revolution when no one fights, or you get a civil war when someone decides to fight back. What we could experience is a communist revolution in the United States.
You could.
If the right does nothing. We are facing an election where we already know from 2020 no one will agree on the results. To then say, after this election, everything will be fine, I believe is absurdity.
Okay, so
I agree. I can't believe I'm saying this.
So I'll say this. I'll say this. No, I still have to disagree. This has been going on for years and years, where the American government has prepared for contingencies for civil war. This has been going on forever. And to be honest with you, Tim, you've been talking about the Civil War since long before I even got into online politics. I was listening to you talk about, hey, this is right around the corner. It's coming soon to a theater near you. The stage is set. We're very close to it. And we weren't really that close to it. So the thing is like...
Do you think January 6th wasn't a dramatic escalation of political violence?
I think that you could have a lead up over many years. Over many years.
So I was correct. What did the SPLC accuse me of?
What do you mean? When did you
September,
predict Jan 6?
In September. Oh, I love this because it's in the lawsuits against me too. SPLC's written about it because in like September of or it might have been August of 2020, I said, if Donald Trump loses, you're going to see dudes showing up in D.C. They're going to lose their mind and storm the White House or something because they are not going to accept this. You're right. It wasn't the White House. It was the Capitol building. And then they wrote, Tim Pool had foreknowledge of January 6th, and here's proof because he predicted. No, it's because I read. And I said, wow, based on everything these people are saying and preparing for, they're going to go to D.C. and do something like this. And then they did.
Yeah, but I think if you say that the sky is falling enough times, just like Alex Jones, eventually a couple of those things are correct.
In 2018, when I said escalation of political violence is going to reach a massive tipping point, and then in 2020, they firebombed St. John's Church and the White House grounds, and they took over numerous cities. I predicted that. So to say, you've been saying for a long time it's around the corner, and every time you say something's going to happen, it does, but you're still wrong. Dude, I don't care if I'm wrong.
Well, it's not every time you say it that it doesn't happen. What I'm saying is that you've made the prediction so many times. I've heard it so many times on your show. Are we this close? We're this close to civil war. It's right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Andrew Wilson's right, man. I used to be such an avid Tim Pool watcher. I used to love Timcast so much, man. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. Tim Pool is responsible for me even getting hardcore into politics and really understanding what's going on. I found this show really entertaining, and it was really informative too, especially around the 2020 time period. But he got so out of hand with this stuff. He got so out of hand with this rhetoric, where everything is just so catastrophized, I guess you could say. I don't even know if that's a word, but it's so catastrophized. Like every single thing is like, the world is ending. This is it. This is the war to end all wars. Like I really had to stop watching him whenever Russia invaded Ukraine, because every single day it was just like, nuclear war is coming. Nuclear war is coming. And it really started to take a toll on me, man. Like I really started to get scared. I genuinely considered going out and like hiding out in the country because Tim Pool was telling me that nuclear war was coming. Like genuinely. And I was just like, dude, I'm tired of getting fear-mongered too like this. Like, even if nuclear war is coming, like, I'll rather just live my life, man. You know, live out my last days, you know, in peace, versus watching Tim Pool and having him scare me every single night. So I have to agree with Andrew Wilson here, dude. He does catastrophize everything. Once again, I don't know if that's a word. It sums it up pretty well, though. It's like, you know, and I understand that that's his job as well. You know, that's what gets views. That's what gets clicks. That's what keeps people interested. You don't want to just play down everything, because then people are going to like, oh, this is kind of boring. I was hoping that I would get a nuclear war update today. You know, so it puts Tim Pool in a tough situation. But I would have to agree with Andrew Wilson here. He does do that. And I'm curious to see what you guys think in the comments. Do you also agree with Andrew Wilson that Tim Pool just kind of overblows everything a little bit? And once again, understand it's his job, but it still doesn't make it not true.
Gentlemen, and the real question is, what will happen when the Civil War gets here? I haven't seen the Civil War, Tim. I'm going to be honest with you, and it doesn't look to me like the political will is there to do it. Now, January 6th people went quietly into the night, and nobody's really saying much about that either.
So the first thing I'll say academically is, I don't know if you've ever actually read history books. Perhaps
a guy like me read. Yes, I've read history books. And
well, so when you read articles specifically about various historical periods, you realize that we condense it in our history books. And so when we talk about the rise of Hitler, people tend to forget that it's like 20 years through Weimar Germany leading up to this point where this guy rises to power. And so
conditions were set for the Weimar Republic. We had massive inflation.
I think you're either being purposefully obtuse or you cannot comprehend basic facts.
Well,
and the intentional being intentionally obtuse is to say, I recognize that many different academics have predicted civil war, state that we're in civil strife. You said political violence is going to escalate. The Summer of Love did happen. You said in 2020 that a bunch of angry Trump supporters are going to go to D.C. and storm, the White House. It wasn't the White House; it was the Capitol building. You got that one right, and you've been warning about how these things lead to each other. And now today, as of today, because the Civil War didn't kick off at any of those time periods, you've been wrong to predict these things are escalating. The first thing is,
eventually, if you keep predicting the same thing over and over again, you're probably going to be right eventually. If you keep saying, hey, there's going to be a civil war, guys, it's starting now, and you say that every day for the next 25 years, you might be right. It wouldn't be completely out of the question for you to be right. It's not like it would be an insane prediction at that point. If every single day I say the New York Jets are going to win the Super Bowl, every single year I say that for the next 60 years, I'm probably going to be right at one point, maybe. I mean, they suck pretty damn bad, but like, eventually I'll be right, hopefully. It's kind of the same thing.
I say, hey, look, here's a guy who said this thing is happening. That's not me predicting it. That's saying a Princeton professor has made this prediction. A former CIA official has made this prediction. Numerous security advisors have made this prediction. Canada is saying it's improbable. So it's not necessarily a prediction, but they're concerned about its potentiality. Investors are now making this prediction. We are in civil strife. I'm not making that up, nor am I predicting it. I'm saying that's an assessment of leaders in politics, infrastructure, and culture.
Leaders, of some people, not of every. There's no united academia saying there's a right around the corner, guys. That's not happening. You pull the sources that you want because they help craft your narrative, Tim.
And then when the Summer of Love happens, I was wrong.
Okay, so again, if you say the sky is falling every single day, eventually you get some keys of it right. But I've been hearing this from you for a long, long, long time.
What have you heard from me?
Again, I'll repeat it. I have listened to you long before I was ever inside of any type of political commentary. Mm-hmm. I was listening to you talk about coming civil wars, how this is happening.
What was wrong?
In the next few months, next few months, this could really set the stage between the states and this a new civil war.
What was wrong? What was wrong?
They just didn't happen.
What didn't happen?
None of these civil wars that you.
What civil wars did I predict that didn't happen? What civil wars?
Well, I didn't come in with a list of all the times Tim Pool's predicted civil war, but dude,
okay, you're at the point
famous for it.
You're at the point where you've lost the argument and you're making things up.
What part of the argument did I lose?
You said that I predicted a civil war would happen at a period.
No, I'm saying that you talk about it constantly.
Right.
And I have not.
Was I wrong?
I haven't seen any of the evidence of this.
Summer of Love is not evidence.
No, it's not. There's no civil war, even from the Summer of Love. That's not a civil war.
When did I predict the Summer of Love would lead to a June 21st civil war in the United States?
I mean, that's what we're talking about right now, though, is the leading. So when is this? So let's be hyper specific then. Mm-hmm. What area, what decade, next 5 years, next 4 years, next 3 years, do you think we'll see a civil war? Or is it something you're talking about that's 30 or 40 or 50 years down the road? Or do you just not know?
Literally, I've said, I don't know.
You don't know.
And so you made up that I predicted a civil war at a specific period.
No, I'm saying that's all I've heard you talk about for years.
What was I wrong about?
It's the truth, man. That really is all Tim Pool has been talking about. And it's unfortunate because I do like Tim Pool and I definitely respect his show. I mean, he puts out a good product and there's no doubt about it. But it's just unfortunate for me because I am not able to watch him anymore. I can't watch it. And that's just the truth, man. And it sucks. I'm curious to see what you guys think in the comments. Maybe I'm overblowing this whole thing. Maybe I am just sensitive or something. But I think a lot of people agree with me on this because I've said it before. And a lot of people have agreed with me in the comments. And I've talked to people in private and they say the same thing. Let me know in the comments, though, what you guys think about Andrew Wilson going on Timcast IRL and calling out Tim Pool to his face for this dangerous rhetoric that Tim Pool has been spreading for years and years at this point. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole Andrew Wilson versus Tim Pool on Timcast situation.